To get a word in, with
Ready?
you guys talking
Joe?
all the time.
Well, that hockey game's
rolling.
Knack Hardware and Lounge brings your Garage Logic
Jesus
podcast
H.
number
Christ.
1000.
We're not going.
Yes, we are.
No.
It just happened.
Why are you
No.
not? Yes, we are.
It's 11:58.
Give it 2
He
minutes.
told me
Joe.
to go.
Holy
He told
crap.
me.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell Rook to put his headphones on. Or not.
Were
Hey,
we
Rook.
really waiting for this?
I don't know. I don't know what we're waiting for.
Hold on.
We're live on YouTube, just so you guys know.
Go ahead, John.
Rook, I need to talk to you after the show.
Was
Not
that
on-
it, John?
Not on the council.
All of this?
So
was
you
for
you
that?
couldn't have sent him a text?
John, this is on
Joe,
you.
I'm rolling.
I feel so important.
I'm rolling.
I feel very important.
God.
Knack Hardware and Lounge brings your Garage Logic podcast number 1537, May 2nd, 2025. 91 degrees on this day in 1959. That's 2 days in a row for 1959 at 91 degrees. 24 degrees in 1875 and 1961.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reuvers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
Ice outs. Minnetonka went out on this day in 1950 and again in 2013. And White Bear went out on this day in 1965, that wild spring. Tomorrow is the 3rd. No ice outs. Sunday's the 4th. Minnetonka went out on Sunday, May 4th, 1859. And let me see if that's all I got for you. But there's one. When we come back Monday, is Monday the 5th?
Yes.
Cinco de Mayo.
When we come back Monday, I'm just warning you,
What are you warning us
we will
about?
be concluding this season's ice out.
Oh, that's too bad.
And those ice outs are brought to us by our friends at professionalturf.com.
I want to get to the latest fraud and just clear the decks. Get it over with. This is from Carol Evan doing some investigating. Minnesota is one of the first states to implement a Medicaid-backed program meant to help the elderly and people with disabilities find and maintain housing. Housing Stabilization Services, or HSS, provides individuals with support through consultation, moving expenses, transition, and sustaining services. The program is unlicensed, and the Minnesota Department of Human Services, which administers it, admits the agency is struggling due to unforeseen growth to provide oversight. I will just collect myself for a moment. And there, I did. Health and, what's it called? Health, Department of Human Services has surpassed what was initially projected prior to the program implementation in 2020 in terms of the number of individuals enrolled in the program and providers delivering services, the agency wrote to Carol Evans' inquiries. This rapid growth has brought additional challenges to build and implement quality assurance and oversight that matches the unforeseen scale of the program. DHS says it currently has 40 active fraud investigations underway into the Department of Human Services providers.
40?
40. The program is thought to be a total scam, according to a woman who was trying to use it. I don't even. Do I even bother? I mean, what's the point? Year-to-year figures for HSS billing show an explosion in cost. In 2024, the program paid out more than $91 million. According to the data from the Minnesota Department of Human Services, more than $248 million in Medicaid reimbursements have been billed by providers since the inception of HSS in 2020. Housing stabilization services. One of the top billers over the years is a St. Paul company called Brilliant Minds Services.
Brilliant Mind Services.
According to its website, Brilliant Minds says we take great pride in the mission to provide housing for those who are experiencing homelessness, and we endeavor to serve as a catalyst for opportunity to all those who require shelter, and our unwavering commitment to delivering exceptional services and providing unparalleled customer care has earned us a loyal following. Records show the providers submitted more than $1.1 million in claims in 2024 alone. But as Care 11 investigates followed the money trail, questionable billing surfaced. This is going on. So there's 40 of these cases of questionable billing. Phantom meetings, questionable records. I don't want to continue. What's the point?
Meetings that actually didn't exist and help that didn't exist. And the Care 11 story is really, really good. They talked to just one client who is being, I don't know if she herself is being defrauded, but she's being used as a pawn in the fraud game. Where,
Is this Rachel?
yeah, where Brilliant Mind is saying they did all this stuff for her. And the only thing they did, as far as I could tell from the story, I watched it twice, is drop off a vacuum cleaner. But they claimed many, many, many hours of meetings and help and money. They said they helped her find an apartment when, in fact, she already...
Here, let's do it.
All right.
In Feb of 2024, Rachel Lean, a mother recovering from a long addiction battle, had found a place of her own to call home. She had regained custody of her young son and was preparing to finish her substance use recovery program at R.S. Eden, an addiction treatment center where she had been living in supportive housing. She found her own apartment and signed a lease for the new home she was preparing to move into a few weeks later. A friend of Rachel's recommended the HSS provider Brilliant Minds to help her get her household items. On Feb 25, text messages show Rachel contacted a man named Aiden with Brilliant Minds, explaining she had already secured housing but needed help with essentials like cleaning supplies and a vacuum. "We got you for sure," Aiden replied. Days later, Rachel received another text. "Hello, my name is Mohammed. I'm your direct housing coordinator from Brilliant Mind Services." The text chain shows Rachel and Mohammed discuss setting up an in-person meeting, but Rachel says it never happened. "I never met with them. I never did any kind of a housing plan," she said. Records show Brilliant Minds billed Medicaid as if that in-person meeting and housing plan took place, and then continued to bill, claiming they were helping her find the housing she already had.
Yep.
Folks, I can't think of, well, with the exception of California, I can't think of a state more corruptly run than Minnesota. Here's the key to understanding some of this fraudulent behavior. The Health and Human Services says, well, we didn't anticipate the demand for this service. Well, there's your problem. Who do you have working for you that didn't anticipate it? Why don't you have the people who can anticipate properly what's taking place?
Right.
That seems to be a common theme in all. There's a common theme in all the frauds. More people than expected need the service. Happened with food. It's happening with school busing. It's happening with autism. It's happening with daycare. And it's happening with Medicaid. Oh, we didn't plan for this many people. We just got a bill from the Acme provider that needs another $700,000. We better send it out. They've done no checking. They've done no due diligence on any of this. And it sounds to me like the department, the State Department, which is supposed to be safeguarding our money, we're completely unprepared to run a program like this. And what happens? Who takes advantage of that unpreparedness? Clever fraudsters move in, sense the chance, take it, and run with it.
Yeah, they seize upon it. because they understand the loopholes and how the system works.
Well, these guys are just down the street from us.
Rachel emailed Brilliant Minds asking for copies of all of her records and documentation of the services they had provided. Everything listed is a complete lie, she said while reading through her records provided by Brilliant Minds. The document and an in-person client session on March 8 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The notes, which assert they were authored by an individual named Mohammed,
Clever.
state, I met with Rachel and introduced myself to her and spent a quality amount of time getting to know one another. Backing up Rachel's claim that the meeting with Mohammed was fabricated, R.S. Eden's treatment records confirm Rachel was in a group counseling session at the exact same time. So Mohammed sounds like he might be stretching the truth.
He might not be telling the whole truth.
For March 9 to April 6, this is again in 2024, Brilliant Minds records claim they spent every Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon helping Rachel find housing. There's a little hiccup with that one. She is already in her new housing.
Fail.
On March 15th, records detail, I spent time today researching low-income apartments in St. Paul that would suit Rachel's needs. Rachel texted Mohammed on March 20, Hi, Mohammed, I moved into my new place. I am in need of help transferring my electricity into my name because I have a very large past bill that I am unable to pay. Also, I need a vacuum cleaner very badly. Can you help me? She got no response.
Someone's pointing this out to me, a mole that we have. The common thing that Brilliant Minds and the transportation company have is that their websites are extremely basic. You can tell they both used a template and they plugged little information into it. They both give virtually no specific information. And I am on their website, and it is, what is HSS? Housing Stability, I can't say the word.
Stability.
Stabilization Services is a housing service for all eligible Minnesotans created by the DHS. Why does the DHS have to create that, and then they use Brilliant Mind Services? So that's three different agencies or entities.
I'm beginning to have a deeper, darker thought.
Go.
I hope Keith Ellison is in that thought somewhere.
I guess it's come to be. And I don't mean this with any harm in mind. But how many Rachels are there that have come to expect the taxpayer to provide them with even cleaning supplies?
Wow.
No.
Vacuums aren't cheap.
Just think about it. No, stop. There are an undeniable number of them who need this help.
Yes.
What we're discovering is that help cannot be provided legitimately,
There you go.
which by logical extension means that all the fraudsters need to do is find a vulnerable audience that expects government help.
There you go.
That's the key phrase.
Then they jump in and ostensibly administer the government help while leaving the Rachels of the world shortchanged.
I wouldn't even use the word expects, because Rachel has just did or was trying to do what we have been asking for years. Get off the drugs, get cleaned up, get a place to live, become a proper member of society. We're willing to help. And if, in fact, all of this was on the up and up and legit, Rachel would be well on her way right now. So I'm sorry, I can't point fingers at people like Rachel who really, really are doing their best to be part of society.
And they're taken advantage of.
And then that's where the problem lies. Yeah,
Let's finish
it's
this.
DHS. Yep.
However, client sessions for March 22nd and 23rd document Mohammed researched affordable housing and delivered household items to Rachel. But Rachel has proof that did not happen. On March 7th, fed up with the lack of help, text messages show Rachel reached out to her original Brilliant Minds contact, Aiden, saying she had not been helped with anything and never met with the worker assigned to me. She texted that she was starting to think this whole housing stabilization service is just a scam. The text chain shows Aiden apologized and later sent Mohammed over to her house with a Shark vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah.
They came over and dropped off a vacuum cleaner after I had already moved in, secured my own housing, did all the whole move by myself, Rachel said. Everything that an HSS service is supposed to be doing for the participants, I did on my own. Even after Mohammed visited her home on March 27, Brilliant Minds billed Medicaid for continued house hunting. The last documented session on April 6 describes the housing coordinator taking trips to look at properties that fit Rachel's wish list. I visited those properties. I went in person on Rachel's behalf because these two options were strong matches for her housing criteria. Yeah, but she was already in a house.
Yeah.
So they're billing the American taxpayer for an unnecessary errand they claim to be on. In total, Brilliant Minds billed Medicaid for 30 hours of HSS assistance for Rachel, totaling $2,060. Rachel says all she got was the vacuum.
$100 vacuum.
How much did they bill?
If that, I don't know. How much
Carol Evan has repeatedly tried to reach Brilliant Minds, but was met with dead ends. The phone line listed on the website is disconnected. Multiple visits during business hours to their St. Paul office found locked doors and lights off.
It's $67 per hour.
You say that for food fraud, for the busing thing, for all of the scandals. It's that same line.
State business filings list a manager named Mokhtar Aiden with a mailing address for the company in Woodbury. Care reporters visited and found a vacant house with a realtor's lockbox on the door. When pressed, the company responded via email, declining an interview but writing, "We appreciate the opportunity to provide clarification and address your concerns." Well, no, you don't. They showed up just one day, said Rachel, and gave me a vacuum cleaner, and that was it. Folks, I don't. Well, again. I think we have an attitude that maybe sums it up. It's an attitude from Ilhan Omar. Could we have today's Ilhan Omar update, please?
You may have to.
Because I think it might just wrap everything up.
It's another good Tony Lee production.
Here is your latest Ilhan Omar report on Garage Logic.
This is Ilmar being asked a
Ilhan.
question. What did I say?
Ilmar.
I think that's a great.
I like Ilmar better.
Okay.
Ilmar Homar. What's her name?
Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar. Sure it is. She always has that delicate kind of tiny voice that suggests a timidity that might stem from her ability to speak English, which she does extremely well. But on this little bit of tape, you're going to hear her talk right out of the street. It's a reporter for Daily Caller. She apparently was caught walking outside with her posse.
Yes.
The factotums with the iPads that we have to pay for.
In D.C.
Follow
because
her around and
Lord knows she wouldn't be here.
make sure she gets to the dry cleaners on time. Okay. They're following her around, and here comes this guy from Daily Caller. Now, admittedly, I'm going to tell you this. It's a loaded question. It's a loaded question. He's asking something like, well, don't you think more Democrats should go down to El Salvador and plead the case of Abreu Garcia? Is that his name?
Yes.
And but she didn't have any means to be able to answer that in the intention it was asked. She didn't like being caught.
Congresswoman Omar, I'm Miles Morrell with the Daily Caller News Foundation. Do you think more of your Democratic colleagues should be traveling to El Salvador to advocate on behalf of Abreu Garcia?
I think you should fuck off. Yeah, that's
I'm sorry, what, Congresswoman?
Fuck off.
Who should?
You.
Why me?
We're not taking any questions right now, but here you go.
Yeah, thanks.
As he's handed a business card from one of the Continue.
That was right out of the street, Omar. You really got the language down pretty good. I didn't hear any of that timid BS that you like to put a little wiggle in your throat. I didn't hear that.
Huh.
Now, I told you, it was a loaded question. No Democrats are going to run down to El Salvador.
Here's my problem. I just went to the Google. I entered in Ilhan Omar tells reporter to F off. I used the word. The only legit, I would call, what's the mainstream media? What do they call? Legacy media?
I call them conventional news-gathering institutions.
Perfect. The only one I could find of that nature was the New York Post and their YouTube channel, if you, in fact, consider the New York Post legitimate. The rest is something DC Shorts, Washingtonian Problems on Instagram, The Political Wire, Outkick, The Daily Caller, The Free Beacon, Mediate, Reddit, which is just a discussion forum, and a couple more that I've never heard of.
Well,
that's my problem, that it's not, Joe, being covered by one of those mainstream outlets.
Well, is it a story?
Well, again, so look at it if that would have been a Republican saying that. And I know I always, that's always my reaction. But that's just the sense I've got.
If this was Marjorie Taylor Greene, it would be plastered all over every.
Well, I hate to be that guy, but that's just the way I've felt for the last couple of years.
The world forces us into playing whataboutism.
Yeah, and I hate that. But
yeah, I do too. But we have to play it because that's where we are.
And I think you were clear, Joe, about the question and the motivation for the question.
The guy was poking her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know how to poke. She doesn't know how to be poked. She
should as a politician.
Well, she's got a thin skin, and she's
just ask her brother.
She's a word I can't say.
There's no more class in Washington, Joe.
That's why I'm running for Senate.
Which is why we have to watch our language in the town council portion of the show, because I too want to say that there's been a decline of class, but we're hardly models of sainthood.
Is this in reference to yesterday?
Yesterday was a little wild, and many people enjoyed it.
Boy, did I get some text messages.
Too bad you didn't pay that $100, G. Heller, for yesterday.
I'm still wrestling with the equipment. Well, anyway.
Hey,
you need a guy. You need a guy for everything in life, because you got to boil it down to one guy you can trust or a team of guys you can trust. So your lawyer guys are Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury attorneys. Insurance companies and adjusters can be difficult to deal with, so you need guys on your side. It's important. Mike Bryant from Bradshaw and Bryant and his team are there to explain your rights, represent you, and help you in a difficult time. For 6 years, 6 consecutive years, Mike has been recognized as a super lawyer. I always read those when I see him in Minneapolis St. Paul magazine.
Yeah.
The super lawyers. And he's been named among Minnesota's top 40 personal injury lawyers by Minnesota Law and Politics. I hope you're never in an accident, but if you are, call Bradshaw and Bryant, 800-770-7008, or go to minnesotapersonalinjury.com. minnesotapersonalinjury.com. Your case evaluation, of course, is free. And Bradshaw and Bryant does not want you to be part of the problem. Don't text and drive or drive distracted. That's just common sense from Bradshaw and Bryant.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
A little deep creep, a little heat. Come on, Reuvers, throw that video up. Let's get this
little
done.
Seltzer in your pants.
Here's the scenario. You've got a nut, a well-rusted nut onto that bolt. Hasn't moved in, 20 years. Something's going to snap if you just start cranking on it. But if you take your time, you're going to douse it with deep creep. Then you're going to get out the propane torch, not the acetylene torch. We don't need that thing red hot, just the propane torch. Just heat it up. Get it smoking real good. Seafoam, less flammable than other brands, so the flame-ups aren't going to be a huge issue. But you still have to be careful. Don't be dumb, but we're talking an open flame. Consider your surroundings. Anyway, slowly try to work it loose in the most gentle, forceful manner possible. Go both directions. Douse it again. Heat it again. If it moves a bit, heat it some more, douse it some more. Eventually, it's going to break free, and you're going to be happy. Just be gentle and just use Seafoam Deep Creep. Go to the website, seafoamworks.com, and read up on all the topics, and then get out there and free up all the rusted bolts on your property. Seafoam Deep Creep, a true miracle worker, and just another fine product from a local company here with a global reach, Seafoam.
You know, the other problem with Minnesota agencies creating programs that are then seized upon by fraudsters is the programs themselves are not carefully thought out. They're not well planned.
Hastily put together.
Yeah, they're not well organized.
They're made for fraud.
Yeah, in other words, housing stabilization services. That should have required a great deal of contemplation. What exactly does that mean? It sounds like it means everything from a house to a vacuum cleaner. It doesn't sound carefully enough defined and put together with a rigorous set of disciplines that must be adhered to.
Which suggests what? It's done that way by design. Don't you think?
No, because I'm still clinging to the belief that the fraud is not stemming from the government agencies, but they're doing everything possible from an absence of due diligence to ultimately see their programs end up being taken advantage by fraudsters. One of those things that all I can think of is Rockford when Mariette Hartley talked him into getting the job on the beach, where he went around and had to record the time he was checking. He was hired
like
as
a housing association.
Yeah, he was the detective for the
beach thing,
and he hated it. And he didn't want to do it, but he had to check in. He had to punch something.
Oh, time clock.
Okay, I think there should have been something like that involved. That Mohammed saying he was going to visit Rachel, that had to be proven.
Yeah,
that had to be demonstrated. And the first time he said he did visit her and didn't, he's gone or something. There's some explanation. None of that happens.
And it's $67 an hour.
None of it happens. Now let's go to yesterday's fraud.
Yesterday's fraud.
Here's today's yesterday's fraud. It's the one we tumbled to yesterday thanks to Alpha News, where we're discovering that a school bus operation called Frontier Transportation quite probably has been behaving fraudulently. Today we learned the district produced a spreadsheet showing $7.5 million worth of invoices, each with a status of paid. Minneapolis Public Schools has responded to a data request and confirmed to date that it has paid Frontier Transportation Services $7.5 million since 2022, which is $4 million over the contract for services that was to have run through the year 2027. The Alpha News investigation recently uncovered that Frontier Transportation Services, operated by two men, Falmata Badasso and Abdurraham Kadir, invoiced Minneapolis Public Schools for more than $7 million. Frontier relies on minivans to transport students. Those minivans are limited to a maximum of 10 passengers, including the driver. They claim that a lion's share of their billing is tied to the transportation of homeless and highly mobile students. A new state law took effect in 2023, guaranteeing school districts 100% reimbursement. Wait a minute. 100% reimbursement for transportation costs tied to the homeless and highly mobile students. Okay, you know what that tells me? I was working under the assumption that the school district was using its funds to pay Frontier. No, this is just more state money going to pay the fraudsters.
Yeah, and that 100% number is wrong. It's 200%.
Yeah. The Alpha News report highlighted the district's lack of vehicle inventory records, raising broader concerns about oversight and accountability. There isn't any.
Right.
There is no. The state is in horrible, horrible condition. State Representative Kristen Robbins, Republican Maple Grove, chair of the House Fraud Prevention and State Agency Oversight Committee, responded to the report, calling it another area we have been getting whistleblower complaints on. She said, "Stay tuned." Well, okay. Despite multiple attempts by Alpha News to seek comments from key officials, including Walz and State Auditor Julie Blaha, no responses have been received. Earlier this year, Walz announced a new anti-fraud initiative, saying he wanted to turn the dial. His wife says turn the page.
Turn the page.
He's turning the dial.
Got it.
On the state's approach to combating fraud.
Where's this dial? What are we talking about?
It's simply unacceptable. It's maddening, and it makes myself and Minnesotans angry about this, Walz said. I couldn't think of anything he could say that would have been more disingenuous. Alpha News reporting has sparked significant public reaction, drawing hundreds of comments. Many readers express frustration over what they describe as a lack of oversight and transparency in public education spending. It's an amazing. Today we added housing stabilization services. This is yesterday's fraud.
If this was private industry and Walz was the chairman or the president of the company, he would have been removed now or had the good sense to step down. Instead, he's whatever that bullshit quote was you just read.
Oh, he would have been gone 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sorry, but I'm not letting Ellison off the hot seat. All of this is happening while he's there. Where's the investigation? Where's the prosecution? Where are you, Keith? What are you doing? You're going after President Trump for something that matters so little when all of this is happening?
This has become a tragic comedy. It's virtually everything this state touches is turning to fraud.
I would hope, just because I like being a champion, that we are leading the nation as the most fraudulent state in the nation.
We're number one.
We've got to be number one.
Well, there's a part of me that agrees with you. If we're going to be fraudulent, let's be the best at it.
Let's do this.
I want to be number one.
Quit screwing around.
So California, I'm putting you on notice.
Yep.
We're trying to become number one.
Yep.
It's a sickening feeling.
I think the difference is California, the Californians, the voters, they vote for fraud, right?
How would this blabbermouth governor, if God allowed, he would talk to us? How could he spin this?
He can't. He can't. It would be fun to hear his next appearance.
Do you think it's possible that the mayors of some small towns around the Cross Lake area would, he is having supposedly he is going to meet with them prior to the fishing, kind of as a courtesy, I suppose, or typical of what they do on governor's fishing openings. What if they start laying into them with this stuff?
We know what will happen. They'll all be vetted. They'll all be told what they can and cannot say to the governor.
But what if they have the balls to say, well, you're not telling me what I can ask the governor?
That'd be pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. And again, I asked the question I asked yesterday. Who do we turn to for help? Has to be the FBI, I guess.
Doge should investigate Minnesota. Shut us down.
Elon's coming.
You can't go to the state government for any help. They're all complicit, however, unintentionally. They're all complicit. And it's so interesting. No stories were ever done. Why did Heather Mueller so conveniently leave the Department of Education when the bleep hit the fan?
Right.
Well, help me with the Department of Human Services director. Kind of a funny name.
Yeah, it is.
Linda Fleetwood. Or
why don't we all have her name written down in front of us?
Rook and I used to have Heather Mueller's name taped to the microphone.
This is a once-a-week problem.
I know, and I apologize. It shouldn't be that way. But
all the GLers are yelling her name at
well,
us
none of
right
you
now.
are any help either because you just sit there and laugh without looking it up.
What are we looking up?
Rook's got it.
Tommy Fleetwood.
Mick Fleetwood.
59.
Tommy Bolin.
Greta Van Sundberg.
Tony, no, that's too late.
Geez, you just got it for me the other day.
I know I did.
I quit looking. I thought you had it, Rook.
Well, he doesn't, John.
Come on.
So keep looking.
Yes. going to be right here.
This should
Minnesota
be a
State.
drinking game
Jody
for
Harpstead.
GLers.
Jody Harpstead.
Yeah.
Okay, write it down on a yellow stick-em note.
And to really point out the importance of it, you have to underline it
There you go.
on a Post-it note.
See, Heather Mueller, I finally have memorized because she came up so often, and you had it written out for us. Get Jody Harpstead, tape it to the wall right under the TV. Jody Harpstead, too, conveniently left. No one suffers consequences. No one answers to anybody. Where are we supposed to turn? And the answer is
Where does the buck stop?
we have nowhere to turn. We just sit here and watch a once wonderful state just devolve into complete ruin. What are we going to do here? We got a guy. I wish this guy, Steve Drakowski, isn't he kind of a friend of the show, a Republican from Mazeppa?
We've had him on.
You know, Steve, God love you, but I wish you were doing something more important than this. He's offered an amendment to a transportation funding bill that would mandate that the Department of Transportation use digital road signs that convey a clear and simple message without witticisms, colloquialisms, neologisms, hashtags, electronic or internet, and portmanteaus too. Somebody look that up. John, look that up for me right now. Portmanteaus. What is portmanteaus?
Do you know of which he speaks?
No.
That's because you and Matthew don't leave the your 5-block area. Driving around the state, there's these big, giant message boards, and in the suburbs out, and I've seen them on Brooklyn Center, Burnsville, whatnot. Here's some examples, and MnDOT throws these up to be clever. Only the hot dish should be baked. Don't drive high.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Weed.
You know what? Believe it or not, Kenny, I have seen some of these.
Okay. Yeah. Weed, WEED, like to remind you that driving high is illegal. Don't rely on a 4-leaf clover. Drive safe and sober. That's some ridiculous.
What is portmanteaus?
A portmanteau,
Portmanteau.
T-E-A-U,
Yeah.
is a word created by blending 2 or more other words, combining both their sounds and meanings. It's like packing multiple meanings into one word.
I think old Drazkowski is showing off that he knows that word.
That's a bleep that word, isn't it?
That's a bleep that word.
Here's
Brunch is an example.
Brunch is lunch and breakfast.
Correct.
Portmanteau.
Smog is also an example.
Fog and smoke.
Correct. And motel is motor and hotel.
Yeah.
So now Steve is referencing an article from the U of M which said people driving tend to get cognitive overload and they spend more time trying to figure out what's going on. They get distracted. Next thing you know, they crash. Yeah. I think where he misses the boat is he should have just said no messages at all. Instead of trying to be clever, he should just say no messages at all.
Kenny, that's what I was going to suggest because honestly, there's a couple that I drive by every day, and
what
everybody
happens?
slows down to read the damn thing.
Yeah. There shouldn't be any messages
Nothing.
at all.
Unless it's an Amber Alert or
if
unless
there's
it's
a crash up ahead, if there's an incident, don't do any of that bullshit.
All right, let me say that I'm as prepared as the next guy to be a grump. But I can tell you with all honesty,
Prepared?
Maybe
if I saw a sign that said, only the hot dish should be baked, don't drive high, I guess it wouldn't bother me.
Okay, but what would bother you is if you were just doing 70 miles an hour and now you're doing 62, and that's going to make your blood boil and that's going to increase road rage. There's something up in Albertville, westbound 94 at a road research area where you can go left or you can go right, and they have, they'll have it blocked off so you know which way to go. There's big red X's above you. And even when the flow in the middle of the day, when everybody should be doing 75, they see these big red X's and everybody slows down for
wait
no
a minute.
reason whatsoever.
Well, what are the red X's indicating?
Indicate don't go to the left where they have cones anyway and go to the right. It's stupid. Stop doing that.
I can't claim to have ever been slowed down because the car ahead of me was reading a sign.
Well, millions of people do
No,
every
they don't.
single day.
No, if it doesn't happen to me, they don't.
Joe, let me give you an example. So now that basically every highway is under construction right now, the rare chance that you get to go, as Kenny was saying, get to go the speed limit, what's happening now is because anyone that's not looking at their phone is now slowing down. We don't need more distractions on the roads. We just don't.
It's a stupid distraction. There should be no messages up there.
That's why we got Bradshaw and Bryant.
Right. You already did that one.
I know, but that's why they exist. They realize what's happening.
My blood really got boiling there.
Really did.
I don't care.
I liked your tone there.
Drazkowski, if you win this, great. If you don't win this, I'll be okay.
Stop doing it, Steve. I'm not on your side.
I'm not upset. I want to be. I'm a professional upsetter person.
But you don't see any of them signs in your commute.
I've been triggered, Steve. You triggered me.
Far more concerning to me is that it will soon be against the law in Minneapolis to discriminate against a fat person.
Come on.
We have rights.
Morbidly obese or just...
Well, it's poor Patrick that doesn't like the word morbidly.
Yeah.
But this is what happens. Boy, everything's all of a circle, isn't it? This is what happens when, through apathy and connivance, politics is turned over to young political activists who have no idea how to run a city. They focus on things like fat acceptance.
Is this your gal, Robin?
Yeah. Yeah. So among the new protected classes is weight and height. Here's the problem for this. Let's say you're a short, fat guy.
Hi, I'm Kenny.
No, seriously. You're a 5'3", 300-pound fat guy or
Close.
woman.
Very close.
And you go into Menards and apply for a job. And they take a look at you, and the person hiring you is going to think what? See, I know what I would be thinking, and it wouldn't be the person's height or weight. I would be thinking you wouldn't be able to help anybody by reaching up and grabbing something.
That's discriminatory, Joe.
Well, that's my point. That will now become discriminatory. They'll say, I was discriminated against because I'm short and morbidly obese.
Yeah.
And nobody will believe, what did I say, Menards or Home Depot?
Yeah.
Whatever. Nobody will believe the Menards guy who said, no, I only thought they cannot possibly be a helpful enough employee.
So if I'm hearing you
So
correctly,
I'm going to suffer a discrimination charge.
If I'm
I think choosing both Menards and Home Depot was that's unfortunate, and it's evident you have not been in either lately.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and for those of you out there listening to this program, what Joe's saying is if he was a hiring manager at a specific outlet, he'd say, get on the scale, fatty.
Yeah, you ain't missing lunch, are you?
Yeah. You are...
Before I sign this document over to HR.
You've completely missed the point.
No, I think we're...
Yeah, I think we have the point.
I think
we
we're
all
dead on,
agree.
Joe.
We all agree with you on the overall subject, but the point you're using, we probably all disagree with.
Well, why would no? I want somebody that can get me that can of corn up there.
Well,
let's go.
That's what it would be if you can do the job.
They're going to put Tubby on a ladder to climb up there?
Why not?
Don't you have one of them grabbers anyway?
I do have a grabber.
It's like 1957 in your world.
It really is.
You know the term can of corn.
No, tell me.
From baseball.
Tell me.
Well, do you know where it comes from?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the old markets, you'd reach up there and topple the can of corn down and then just catch it.
Lazy fly ball.
Can of corn.
Can of corn.
Can of corn.
I usually don't catch those.
I know you don't.
How tall are the shelves at your grocery store that you need help?
Big, tall ones.
Super.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, bleep all of you. You're wrong.
No.
You're wrong.
Okay.
In this case, we are not wrong.
No, you're wrong.
But it's your show, so you can go ahead and be wrong all you want.
We're demonstrating, what does this say? And by outlawing discrimination against how much a person weighs, Minneapolis enters a very unique territory. According to an association whose main mission it is to end fat discrimination. There really are only a handful of places in the entire world that have made it explicitly illegal to discriminate based on body size. Tigress Osborne. Name is Tigress.
I was hoping you'd get there.
God almighty. Tigress, she's with the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance.
You want to see my card for that group?
I'm a card-carrying member.
And she said, it's just incredible to see Minneapolis take this step. I also think it's incredible, Tigress, but for a completely different reason. Research shows us, this is Tigress, that about 34 million Americans experience size discrimination every year in this country. Okay. When asked by, I think it was Ben Henry who had to draw the short straw and cover this BS.
Yeah.
Channel 5 said, how often does this happen in Minneapolis? And when the answer is, well, our data is only anecdotal. In other words, they have no bleeping idea if this ever happens.
God.
You know who's on top of this? I would love to have Jason Chavez as a guest, and I'm very serious.
There's not a precedent case, Joe?
No.
We can't go to somebody and say...
This could happen. Jason Chavez says, we have heard from many individuals who oftentimes feel like they've been discriminated against because of their weight. I don't have a specific number for you because it was not prohibited previously until today. I don't know what that means. This takes effect August 1st. Please get Jason Chavez.
I just made a note. Yep.
Let me explain why. What I would like to know from a Mysterian is, what is their vision of the city? How do they want it to look like 10 years from now?
Okay, time limit.
I want to know from Jason Chavez, I'm being very serious.
Okay.
What is it you envision? What is it you wish for? What is so wrong now that it needs to be remedied moving forward? Obviously, this was weight and height. What else is there before you would agree that Minneapolis suits your definition of what a great city would be? I would like to know that. And
what do you think he's going to say?
I would hope he'd come on and answer that.
I can't imagine him being on this show more than 2 minutes before your head explodes.
Yeah.
I seriously.
Kabooyah.
You know what? I'm having a hard time getting by the vision in my head of Joe as the HR director in a job interview. I'm now seeing Joe hand the interviewee a toenail clipper and tell him, clip your toenails for me. I want to see how this works out. If you can clip your toenails, you've got the job.
Well,
put on a pair of socks.
I saw
the long shoehorn.
I got a nice shoehorn. I was just about to say.
I saw a picture of a homeless fellow on the light rail.
A picture of
with
him
his feet up on the chair ahead of me. He didn't have shoes on. And his feet were in terrible condition. And I actually had a kind thought. I thought if I saw this guy, I would give him some socks and some shoes. Because that's what he needs.
I know what your Pope would do, and that's what the way you two should be thinking right now.
Yeah. He needed a pedicure too. There was a nail there that was about, 7 or 8 inches.
So
long.
how come you don't have those same kind of charitable, empathetic thoughts towards lard asses?
I don't have an unkind thought towards lard asses. I have very logical thoughts when it comes to what kind of job can a lard ass do. And I'm much to your disappointment, I apparently am way too focused on reaching up to shelving.
It is a weird
I know. I
preoccupation.
want, can you get me that can of paint there? It's on the. No, man, I'm way too short and I'm too heavy and I'm not getting on a ladder. Well, then why were you hired? Well, because if I didn't get hired, I would have sued them for discrimination.
That's the difference between you and I. I will go find that ladder that I'm not supposed to get up on as a customer, and I will climb that ladder.
No, I'll tell you something else
it
as
down
long as you're
myself.
prying.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
go ahead, Joe.
My ladder days are over. I'm not getting on a ladder.
Okay. All right. That's
Wait.
And I
That's
own
angry
some
about
damn fine ladders.
that's a brave admission. I am proud of you.
No
for coming
butter,
out publicly.
no
and saying-
gravy,
ladders.
no ladders,
or popcorn.
or popcorn.
What endorsement did I do that required me to go on a ladder?
Roof, something to do with leaves or gutters or.
Maybe it was Midwest Leaf Guard.
Yeah, I bet that was it. Say, we couldn't.
Speaking of ads,
We're very lucky to have Center of the American Experiment with us, and they want you aware now of just what's happening to education in Minnesota because, along with everything else, that's going to ruin. They have a site you could check, radicalrepeal.com. Radicalrepeal.com, and educate yourself as to what exactly is happening with education policies in Minnesota and any bills that are existing that might prevent it. AmericanExperiment.org. This is an offshoot of AmericanExperiment.org. It's a great group of thinkers. They've done wonderful work. They have seminars. They bring in speakers and often can even find a location that will allow that speaker to be in Minnesota. You can go and hear them. Not like the Mankato YMCA or YWCA. That wouldn't work. RadicalRepeal.com from the American Experiment.
The Earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
Here's John Haidt in his newsroom.
here's Kenny Olson.
I'm sorry, here's
I
Kenny
got
Olson.
411 posi track out back. No, we're not.
Right on.
All right. Why didn't you do that years ago? Or why didn't I do that years ago? That's what GLers always say after signing up with the lawn treatments from ProfessionalTurf.com. That beautiful lawn, it's just a click away. You click that link, sign up for a free estimate. A ProTurf Pro is going to come out, an experienced service tech, going to reconnoiter that lawn of yours and then design a slow-release fertilizer and weed control plan that's environmentally safe and guaranteed that you will have the best lawn in the neighborhood, a lush lawn free of crabgrass, no dandelions, no broadleaf weeds, and all. It all starts with a visit to ProfessionalTurf.com to schedule that thing free and in person. All you have to do, water and mow and mow and mow and mow. You need to check out the other work that ProTurf does when you get to that website, Amazing Landscape Projects. They also service your irrigation system. If that thing's been acting up, giving you trouble, they can fix that. They can wake it up, put it to bed, whatever you need there. ProTurf, we're talking exceptional lawn care, landscape, and irrigation service. It's ProfessionalTurf.com.
Here's John Haidt.
Thank you, Joe. This news brought to you by North American Banking Company. One sports note, wild season is over.
Dang it.
They were defeated last night by Las Vegas. Final 3-2 with Las Vegas winning the series 4-2.
You think Fleury will come back?
No.
God, let's hope not.
Why are you going to rip Fleury?
Should have
Hall of
retired
Fame.
All of that's fine, but
3
this year
years
he
ago.
was a liability.
Well, he's not coming back. Okay?
In news, Minneapolis police say another person has died after that shooting we talked about yesterday, bringing the death toll to the singular shooting incident, now we've found out, to 4. Police made the announcement during the overnight hours into this morning. He was identified as a 28-year-old man. His name hasn't been released. Police learned of the man's death shortly after officers arrested a man identified as 34-year-old James Dwayne Ortley. Ortley arrested around 3:30 yesterday on the 1600 block of South 4th Street by members of an FBI SWAT team and the U.S. Marshals North Star Fugitive Task Force. According to the complaint filed earlier this week, Ortley has been formally charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder, and 1 count of illegal firearm possession. Records show Ortley has several prior felony convictions. The complaint says police found all 5 victims from Tuesday's shooting were shot in the head, and all were found either inside of or just outside a vehicle. Well, 3 of the 5 victims died at the scene. The 2 others were taken to hospitals for serious injuries, one of the hospitalized victims dying yesterday. The complaint says that victim 5 was able to communicate despite having a serious gunshot wound to the face and told police there was only one shooter. That shooter identified by street names as Baby J, Little J, and Little James. Witnesses also spoke with police, identified the suspect from the Baby James name as Ortley. The victim went on to tell police Ortley shot everyone inside the vehicle while sitting inside it and then ran away. Court documents go on to say Ortley, as well as some of his family members, are associated with a street gang called the Native Mob, which operates in the southern part of Minneapolis as well as other parts of Minnesota. Family members of one of the victims told police all 5 victims were at a family friend's home in South Minneapolis that night, but left around 9:30 p.m. and had planned to pick up Ortley, according to the complaint. The document adds Ortley was a close family friend to the victims. Woodbury authorities say the woman found dead inside a house fire there was singer Jill Sobel. According to Woodbury public safety officials, firefighters called to the 9200 block of Pinehurst Road around 5:30 a.m. for a fire. When they got there, they found the house in flames. They were told by the homeowners that one person, identified as a woman in her 60s, was still possibly inside. Firefighters eventually found the woman's body inside the home. The publicist for Sobel, David Elkin, an award-winning Sobel is an award-winning singer-songwriter known for her 1995 song "I Kissed a Girl," confirmed with the Associated Press by email that Sobel had died in the fire. She was also known for the song "Supermodel," which was featured in the film Clueless. During her more than 3 decades of recording, she released 12 albums. Her first album, 1990, "Things Here Are Different." 5 years later, she received widespread attention for the hit singles "Supermodel" and "I Kissed a Girl." She also starred in an autobiographical off-Broadway musical that initially premiered at the Wild Project in New York in 2022, included songs and stories about her life. She was scheduled to perform in Denver tonight. Instead, there will be an informal gathering where attendees can share stories about her. A formal memorial to celebrate her life and legacy will be held later this summer. The cause of the fire still being investigated.
John, is she a native Minnesotan?
I don't believe so,
She's
no.
from Colorado.
I think, yeah. And I thought
I've never heard of her.
"I Kissed a Girl" was a pretty solid song.
I've
record.
confused that, as we established, with another song. So
Very popular in the 90s.
Yeah.
You got to kiss the girl.
2 of the top priorities for the 2025 legislative session are passing a balanced budget and approving new laws aimed at fighting and preventing fraud, oddly enough, and waste in state government programs. While the budget agreement is likely still weeks away, it looks like the anti-fraud bills are moving forward now. Senator Heather Gustafson, a DFLer from Vadnais Heights, told the Senate Finance Committee when families pay their taxes, they expect the dollars to serve the public good, not to be lost to fraud, misuse, or mismanagement. Her bill would create an Office of Inspector General, a new agency designed to oversee how state dollars are spent. The bill is the product of work by both Democrats and Republicans. Senator Michael Cruen, a Republican from Blaine, a co-author on the bill, said he'd like to thank Senator Gustafson for her making it a bipartisan effort. A similar bill passed by the Minnesota House on Thursday evening. Governor Tim Walz says he's eager to sign the anti-fraud bill into law.
thanks, Tim.
A Minnesota state trooper has been federally charged with 1 count of production of child pornography, according to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Jeremy Francis Plonsky was arrested and charged yesterday. He'll remain in custody pending a detention hearing. Faces a minimum of 15 years in federal prison if convicted. State Patrol confirmed that Plonsky is on leave. Colonel Kristina Bogoyevich from the State Patrol released a statement calling the allegations in the case appalling and reprehensible. The statement goes on to say they support the federal investigation and prosecution and will cooperate fully in the investigation. Why don't we take a quick break here and hear from Mr. Reuvers?
Thank you, Johnny. North American Banking Company has one simple philosophy for all of you people out there, whether you are just looking to update your personal financing or maybe you've got a business that you're trying to take care of. And that philosophy is this: it's banking done differently. And they have 6 fantastic Twin Cities locations to serve you. And you'll feel that difference when you walk in, whether it's Roseville, 50th in France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, or Maple Grove. They do offer all of the services as the other big national banks. It doesn't matter whether you're looking to buy a home, maybe finance a new home renovation project, or get that new car that you've been thinking about. My friends at North American Banking Company are going to be able to help you out. And with springtime here, you maybe are thinking about that home project, whether it's at the home or the cabin. Well, why not put your home's equity to work? A home equity line of credit from North American Banking Company is going to give you flexible access to funds when you need them most. Whether it's a home project or an unexpected expense or something else, their experts make it easy. So you can check them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more, and they offer all of the same online and mobile banking options as the other banks, but the key difference is you're going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. nabankco.com to learn more. Once again, it's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender.
It's time to play Love in a Hardware Store.
Fitting rejoin, Mr. Mayor, as Patrick Royce's appearance today on Garage Logic is brought to us by our good buddy, Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold.
Hi, Pat.
Here's John Haidt, the newsroom.
Oh, okay, good. I was worried there. I
hell?
wrote all this news for nothing.
Pat has a sponsored weekly appearance, but he hasn't answered his phone.
He's got memoromania.
So Pat's sitting in his basement right now watching a baseball game. Brought to you by
Mr. Money Talk.
You want some sports news?
No.
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 This is serious. It's a serious stat. In Minneapolis.
Doesn't make any difference if I say no, does it?
Length of years, 33 years. That's been our drought. 124 seasons. The most recent championship for Minneapolis was the Twins winning in 91.
I knew that.
Did you know that if you started rooting for the 4 Minnesota teams 20 years ago, your overall fan experience grade would be an F? You'd be in the 99.9 percentile for fan suffering.
We do that. Yeah.
Is that why you're such a curmudgeon, Mr. Mayor?
No,
so he wants a championship.
I really don't. It doesn't bother me if is he here now? Huh?
Yes, sir. Morbidly late.
We just ran this show right into the bridge abutment, didn't we?
2 Fridays in a row.
Pat?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I got a text saying 110, but it says 103 here. So, okay, good. Let's go.
Here we go.
Let's get this over with.
Really know where to go. The Wild are done. The Timberwolves advance.
Well, I thought it was a hell of a hockey game, and I'm not one to complain about the officials, but I thought those last 4 minutes when we were trying to tie her up.
Yeah.
Didn't that guy first he got away with a trip, and then he got away with a tackle? I mean,
right, but in that situation, you could shoot a guy and you're not going to get a penalty.
Yeah, well, I think maybe you can let the trip go, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when he looks like Dick Butkus running into, some old Viking running back, Dave Osborne, I think maybe you should call it when he goes over and tackles him against the boards.
In a real world, ideal world, yes, but in the heat of a playoff game, the refs aren't going to do a thing.
Although then, when our guy Kaprizov got the stick on his skate and tripped him up early in the period, that was okay then, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's earlier in the game, see.
Yeah. Well,
Patrick, it's not like we would have scored on the power play anyway.
Well, you know what? What Judd was very upset about today is that our guy Heinze did not use the last change to keep Kaprizov away from Eichel.
Yep.
Because Eichel kind of shut him down, and Judd wanted better coaching on the change there. But then, as much as Eichel on the ice, if you're going to keep Kaprizov away from him, he's only going to end up playing a third of the time. So I don't know.
Pat, let's put it this way: every penalty you saw that did not get called would have been called in January.
Yes, that's true.
All right.
That is true. Or yes, it's that way in every playoff sport is for some reason when the playoffs start, go get them, baby.
Mm-hmm.
You can get away with murder, and as you say later in the game, I don't think Vegas is that good. They're slow. The goalie's not very good. How about when we had the goalie floundering around like me on his belly there, and he's flying all over. We still can't get a puck in the net there. So,
Well, the boys didn't have the reaction time.
I thought that let's face it, when this guy goes offside by 6 inches for no reason, that was the series basically right there. Otherwise, you win that game. You win Game 5, and then Vegas is the nervous team last night. So.
Are we now going to be a fully committed basketball all in deal here?
Well, we don't know who we're playing yet, right? We're hoping Golden State. That'll be fun.
That gets decided this evening, I believe. Well, I guess it could go to a 7th game.
No, it could go 2 games, right?
Yeah.
'Cause it's only Game 6.
Well, our lads can get some rest then.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, they can get a lot of rest.
Yeah.
They don't have to rest up from making too many threes the other day. 7 for 47, and they win the game. It's unbelievable. Had to be a world record for missing shots, but then they got all the rebounds. The rebounds were 54 to 37, so all those bricks they threw up, they just rebounded it. And Rudy, who I said, boy, you really can't play Rudy in this series because there's nobody for him to guard, got 24 points and 24 rebounds. So I guess that was a bad prediction there too.
How are your Twins doing?
Oof.
They stink.
Mm-hmm.
They stink. You know, I was in a situation where I almost had to sign up for paying for the Twins, and now I'm gonna maybe just pass and follow them on Blue Sky or some damn thing. You know,
Blue Sky.
I'm not paying for them.
They're terrible. That's because you got Comcast, right?
Yeah, it's part of the package.
Yes, it is. You got
Channel 1261.
How does this affect Joe?
That's right. I'm not paying for him, Pat, so I don't know why you have to.
Well, you know what? I don't have to. Watching this, that lineup is unbelievable. It's awful.
See, when we have a twin season like this, you've got to find other storylines in Major League Baseball. In the Reuvers household, the boys and I have one daily chore. Did the Colorado Rockies lose again?
They won. They won. Was it last night?
They've won 2 in a row, and they're still on pace to win 38 games this year.
Oh my God!
They were 4-20. They were 4-25, right?
Yes.
What happened to them?
They're so bad. They don't have any
They've been
talent.
bad for a long time, Joe. But this is bad. And the same Bud Black is their manager, and he's been through. Unbelievable. He's got photos of somebody. It's incredible that he doesn't get fired.
Their biggest problem, too, is that division is really good. I mean, you got the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants, and the Diamondbacks that are all good teams this year, too.
Yeah.
I did notice that the Colorado was dead last in the standings.
I think tickets are available at the old Coors Field.
Jeez.
Wouldn't that be something if last year you had the Mighty Whiteys set a record for losses, 122. And it looked there for a while. The Rockies might have a chance to beat that. So that would be something.
Back-to-back years. Wow.
So we don't even have a clue when the Timberwolves will play next. That could be in June.
On tonight. I think it's Monday if they who's ahead, Reuvers?
The Warriors are up 3-2. If the Warriors win, the speculation is that you would open the next series here on Monday night because the Timberwolves would be the higher seed.
And we're hoping for the Warriors so we can give a warm welcome home to Jimmy Butler.
Yes. That and your guy Gobert and Draymond might kill each other in that series.
Oh, that's right. Draymond was on TV last year, and he was doing, if he talked for 15 minutes, 7 of them were saying how rotten Rudy Gobert was and how overpaid he was. So that would be that would be fun too, for sure. So,
well, we'll talk to you Monday. Maybe Monday Night Sports Talk will be the pregame for the Timberwolves.
It could be. I don't. It might be a standalone game, so it might not have to start at 10:30 or some damn time. So
it's official now, Pat, that in Minneapolis, height and weight issues will be fair game for discriminatory claims.
Yes, I know that. In fact, I'm thinking of moving over the border. to I only have to go like
Couple
5
feet.
blocks, and then I'm in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of the word morbidly.
And then I'll have to find. Then I don't know who I'm going to sue, but I can sue somebody. Because I'm not that tall and I'm very wide, so that gives me a. It gives me a.
No, actually, I think people much.
Does that get you out of riding with your seatbelt off too? Can you get out of that?
Probably.
Yes. Yes.
I'm too short and fat to wear my seatbelt.
Only in Minneapolis, though.
Yeah.
Only in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Moriarty has she is so crazy. She's fun, isn't she?
No.
She's just insane.
No, she's not. I'll talk to you Monday.
Pat, that's how I think of Trump. He's so crazy that I love him.
Yes. Here's my.
Oh, God.
I shouldn't have brought Trump up. Brace
Instead of him
yourself.
having a parade, why don't he and Elon just go over there and stand with Pootie when they have the Victory Day parade?
All right.
Yeah, take a bow.
Fun talking to you.
It's a lot of money, wouldn't it?
We'll see you later.
And how about Pootie, by the way, saying we're going to have a 3-day ceasefire because we want to have our parade? Then we're going to go back to killing school children.
All right.
Okay.
All right, GLers, that was my fault.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Pat.
See ya.
Thank you very much.
I want to do a political show.
Haven't
with
I
Pat.
learned anything?
No.
Golly.
Why did you just go over there and stand with Pootie?
Jeez, I'm so dumb.
I just hope if there is parade, the American troops don't have to turn and face Trump the way they do in, North Korea.
Aren't we due for a break here?
I think it's break time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh? Anniversary.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a party.
32nd anniversary.
All right, we'll do it.
Can I stay at your house?
Hey.
TGT.
No, we're not.
There's more?
It's the scramble.
It is the Scramble Friday here in Garage Logic, and once again brought to us by our friends at ProfessionalTurf.com. Joe?
I have a note from our friend Carrie. You remember Carrie?
Of course.
Joe, I picked up my 9-year-old niece from her little St. Paul Catholic school in the Frogtown neighborhood today. This was written. Wait, no, that's today. Today's the 2nd.
Yes.
And I noticed two things. Number one, when I parked my car, a St. Paul public school bus pulled up right behind me to drop off a few students from a nearby public school. I heard loud screaming and turned around to see two young girls, about 8 or 9 years old, throwing fists and beating each other. The bus driver didn't do anything. No one did anything. I had my baby with me, so I stayed in the car watching closely in case I needed to intervene. The whole thing lasted about 2 minutes, and thankfully the two girls walked away on their own. But I was shocked with what I saw and what I heard. They spoke words no 9-year-old should even know. Point number 2. As I walked past where the two girls had just battled it out, I saw a nun in the middle of the road with one of those orange crosswalk flags guiding her school children across the street in an orderly, calm way. She was smiling and saying goodbye to her students. It was peaceful, the complete opposite of what I had just witnessed. I only bring this up because these are kids who are basically the same age, going to separate schools, one public and one private, in the same neighborhood, in the same city, but worlds apart. I don't want walls to cut funding for the private schools, but after seeing these two scenes play out, I want to say go for it, Governor Flannel. Cut the funding. We'll figure it out without your money. Not his, Carrie, it's yours. Because money doesn't equal education. The whole thing is beyond depressing. Good luck, Carrie. I would imagine.
Fight for it.
I would imagine her sentiment is felt by many parents. Bleep you, Walls. You're not going to let us kill our little schools.
That's the GLers' approach.
That's right.
Yep. Keep government out of it.
Now, ironically, I didn't know I was going to get Carrie's note, but we learned this. St. Paul police say a gun was recovered after a second grader brought it to school to show friends yesterday. The incident happened at Bruce Vento Elementary School on Case Avenue on the city's east side. A police spokesman confirms that squads were dispatched after reports of a student with a gun. When police arrived, a staff member told them that a gun was found in a student's pocket.
Oh, so it wasn't a Mannlicher Carcano?
No. Officers recovered the handgun and were told that the second grader brought it to school to show friends. The police say the gun was unloaded. No one was injured, and there is no continuing threat. We reached out for comment and received a statement confirming the incident at Bruce Vento Elementary. We do not believe the student planned to use the weapon, nor were there any threats, reads the police department statement. As soon as the weapon was found, the school followed protocol and safety procedures and immediately contacted the district's security and emergency managed department and the St. Paul Police Department for support. Everyone at the school is safe, and the district is working closely with St. Paul Police to investigate this incident. Well, everyone is safe except the traumatized kid who brought the gun to school.
Parents go to jail. All the guns are taken away. That's
agree.
what happens in my world.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
There's no excuse whatsoever
Nope.
for this kid to have brought a gun to school.
Ever.
Zero.
Under any circumstances. A kid should never have access to that firearm.
That's it.
Makes me so mad.
I'd love to see a follow to that, you know?
Yep.
See what happens.
Yep. No
You know what,
excuse.
John? I bet you won't get one.
I bet you're
No
correct, Joe.
excuse will work either.
Why not? Why do you say that you won't get a follow up?
Who's going to follow up on it?
Oh, okay.
Stacy weighs in. We have a big one.
Had that
I'll
in the
say.
news that I didn't get to read.
Yeah, you didn't get to that. A 7.4 in the Drake Passage. So there is is there expectation of a tsunami on the southern tip of South America? I bet there is. Yeah, they're vacating. 7 point. You know, that's a part of the ocean I don't ever want to get caught in.
Yeah.
That's your rough part there, the Drake Passage. That's where the Atlantic meets the Pacific.
Who was
and
our
it
guy
can
that we
get
had?
it can get pretty rough, huh?
Who was Eric Simonson's buddy that we had on?
Didn't
went
we
through the
interview a
Drake?
guy who rowed?
Yes.
Who rowed
His
a
name
boat?
is escaping me now. Find
Yeah,
out.
there's wonderful guy. Turns out he was he excelled in a variety of things.
He was an overachiever.
He was an all-rounder, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Scratch handicap, I think he said. You remember that, you guys? We had a guy on who was part of a rowing crew.
Yeah.
That went from an island in the Drake Passage to the tip of South America.
I'm looking at it right now. Wasn't it the
notoriously violent seas?
Oh, that's a rough sea. You don't want to get into
And it was one of those covered rowboats, right?
Well,
and they would row in shifts.
In theory, but they were
between
still...
Cape Horn, Chile, Argentina, and the South Shetland Islands of Antarctica.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't Our Lady of the Lakes rowboat, you know.
No, it was a nice vessel, but
Yeah.
so what? You know, only because
600 miles.
I did some homework for you boys.
If someone asked, sorry.
Stacy says it's still going on right now. They just had a 6.6.
You know, Mother's been really rumbling in a variety of areas.
Yeah, Alaska's been bad.
Texas, Alaska.
Yeah.
Drake Passage.
Climate change.
When can I stop paying my mortgages? Oh, bring it on.
Yesterday, you'll recall that we had a This Day in History item. Let me get all my paperwork done because I did a little homework. We came across this yesterday that on that day in 1933, May 1st, no, I'm sorry, 1976, on May 1st, 1976, St. Paul's Frank Boyd Park was dedicated to a fighter for his class, his race, and his union. Born in Kansas, Boyd moved to Minnesota in 1904 and joined the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters Union in 1925, rising to secretary-treasurer in the organization. Active in DFL politics, he was one of the first two African Americans to cast votes in the Electoral College. That was in 1944. He died on May 2nd, 1962, which is today. Did he make this day in history? No, he should have. So we were surprised. I was surprised to learn that St. Paul had a Frank Boyd Park. Mm-hmm. It's on Selby between Farrington and Virginia. Mm-hmm. So I went there yesterday. I told you I would, and I did.
Did you get stabbed?
Nope, not anymore. There's a concrete stand with a bronze bust of Mr. Floyd. It's in the southwest corner of the park, Frank Boyd, and it says, I took a picture of it.
Andrew Town is the man we had on.
Andrew Town.
From
He's
Grand
the rower.
Forks, North Dakota.
Yep. And let me go to my photos and bring this up. And
I can't wait.
Here is the photo of the statue, and it says, George, I'm sorry. Well, I have a little trouble with the photo here.
He needs those
Frank Boyd, 1881 to 1962. Fighter for his union, his people, and his class. Dedicated 1976. It's a handsome bronze bust of Mr. Frank.
Nice.
So I did some more work.
It's a very small park, Joe. I'm looking at it on Earth.
Complete square block.
Yeah.
That's bigger than a lot of parks, Kenny.
Oh,
so
okay.
you're
I
wrong there.
apologize. I take it all back.
There's a large picture of the bust on St. Paul's website.
Yeah. So what I learned is something very interesting. Do you know that all porters on the trains were called George?
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Why?
Because that was George Pullman's name. And he required that and they were all African Americans.
That's like George Foreman.
George Foreman. They all had to be called
Six of
George. Pullman porters had steady work, camaraderie, and identity and community esteem, but they came at a price. Their wages were low, so they depended on tips, which in turn, and by company design, demanded servility. They were required to seem grateful. All had to answer to the name George for George Pullman.
Apparently that was basically a slur.
George?
Did you know that? Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, it was common for passengers to refer to all Pullman porters as George. It's not accurate to say they were all named George. The practice was a form of demeaning and disrespectful slurring that persisted after slavery, showing that they were George Pullman's boy. Named from when slaves were named after their masters.
On the road, porters were on duty almost 24 hours a day, always on call, no overtime pay until they had worked 400 hours in a month.
Wow.
Jeez.
The company charged them for their food, uniforms, and even the polish they used on passengers' shoes. Still, by the early 1920s, the Pullman Company employed more African Americans than any other company in the country. So Boyd had a little firecracker in him.
Yeah.
In 1909 and 1910, he was organizing attempts, and in 1912 came up with a wage increase petition. In 1918, he joined porters from the Milwaukee Road in the Railway Men's International Benevolent Industrial Association. Those early unions all failed. Another group formed the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters Protective Association in New York. In 1919, Boyd attended its 1920 convention in Chicago. That union failed. The Pullman Company responded by forming a company union, the Pullman Porters Benefit Association. Seeing no alternative, Boyd joined the Benefit Association in 1921 and served for 3 years as a local officer. All right, I could continue this.
You could go on and on.
Yeah.
You know.
Boyd most likely knew he would be fired. So, no longer working for Pullman had one advantage: distance from the company's spies. But the cost was high. Frank never worked at a steady job again. For decades, he served as a union organizer for the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. The union achievements came slowly. They had to battle Congress for a decade before gaining recognition in 1935. In 1937, it negotiated a contract with Pullman that cut monthly hours from 400 to 240 hours and raised pay by $12 a month to $100.
Woo!
From that point forward, the Brotherhood became the black workers' premier union, and A. Philip Randolph, their most outstanding labor leader. A. Philip Randolph, I believe, was a New York fellow. By July 1948, base pay had risen to $230.50 a month. So they were making progress. So this man sounds like he might have deserved a park, huh?
Yeah,
I would
even more so.
Like to thank you for bringing me down and sending me home with slumped shoulders and head bowed for the weekend.
But I think when you heard yesterday, I think it was Kenny who said, well, why don't you go there on your walk, meaning to Frank Boyd Park. And I thought, you know what, I will.
He challenged you.
Not only because they come to us.
Wait, one important note from Stacy in that those Cape Horn earthquakes.
What?
They're right on a plate.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the South American plate. So that could be big.
Only because they come from the traveling Lymans in Mpumalanga, South Africa, Marloth Park. It was on this day in history.
May 2nd.
On this day in 1670, the Hudson's Bay Company was chartered in London. The company's territory was the Hudson Bay watershed, but no posts were established in present-day Minnesota until a century later, and the Northwest, XY, and American fur companies played a larger role in the region's fur trade. It was on this day.
Fascinating part of history where those companies were competing against each other.
On this day,
May 2nd,
in 1878, an explosion at the Washburn A flour mill in Minneapolis killed 18 workers. Ooh. Studies showed that flour dust was highly explosive. I can't imagine why that would be. And the company began replacing millstones with rollers, which reduced the fire hazard and revolutionized the flour industry.
Huh.
On this day...
Are you talking May 2nd?
So they made some changes then.
Boy, would I like to find this. On this day in 1903, automobile license plate number 1 was issued for a Packard owned by R.C. Wright of St. Paul. Wouldn't that be neat to find?
That'd be so cool.
Right with the W or?
Yeah, right with the W. Wouldn't that be neat to find the plate or the car?
Yes.
On this day.
It's a bummer if you're number 2. You know, you waited in line probably a long time. Dang it.
The value drops quite a bit.
On this day,
on May 2nd,
in 1976, a baseball game was canceled at Met Stadium due to snow, the latest snow out in Minnesota Twins history. I believe that's mentioned in Once There Was a Ballpark.
I believe it is.
I believe that was also a Bat Day promotion.
And then years later, it snowed, and you guys were able to go to the game at the Metrodome.
Yeah, Sid loved that.
I should note on this day in 1962,
May 2nd,
union organizer Frank George died. He has a park named for him in St. Paul. Is it Frank George? Frank Boyd.
Yeah.
Frank Boyd died.
Yeah.
On this day,
on May 2nd,
in 1986, the Steger International Polar Expedition, led by Will Steger and Paul Shirky of Ely, reached the North Pole, and team member Anne Bancroft of St. Paul became the first woman to cross the Arctic to the pole. And then, to explain global warming to us, Will Steger joined us at the fair once a year on a very hot, humid August day and threw a big cube of ice out onto the lawn as though its melting was indication of some sort of climate change.
Didn't you say see, Joe? Something like
See?
that. See?
See?
See what happens
Yeah,
to
I
ice
do,
in
Will.
85-degree heat?
Willie,
direct sun?
it's August, pal. I mean, the ice is going to melt.
Have I told you my Will Steger story when we were on the air during that?
No.
I called Yatesy claiming to be Will Steger calling from the North Pole. And his mom called and said, I don't think there's any payphones up there. Poor dear mom bought the bit.
Is Will still making a fortune in the muckluck business? I think he was making
is.
mucklucks.
I think he is.
Yeah.
You know, he despite you, he's a good guy. He is a very,
I get along famously
he's
with
a
Will, and I know
lovely
Will,
person.
and I
Yeah.
don't mind Will at all, nor
Okay.
does he mind me. How do you like that?
All right, that's
as far
good.
as you know,
Let's establish.
Yeah, John's right. As far as I know.
Why don't you tell me?
He was a state champion wrestler at Benilde St. Margaret's.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And finally, on this day,
May 2nd.
in 1992, Nobel laureate Rigoberta Menchú of Guatemala visited the Twin Cities as a guest of the American Indian Center. And on this day in sports disappointment history,
The day after the Wild got eliminated.
we'll just go with that one. One more first-round elimination for one of Minnesota's professional hockey teams.
8 straight first round exits?
At least 6.
Thought it was
I'm
8.
not sure it's 8.
Okay.
But,
Oh, it is. You're right, Chris.
8?
Yeah.
8 consecutive first-round elimination, but there's some gaps in there where they didn't make
I think
the
it's
playoffs.
8 in 10
Correct.
years,
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, at the level of play they're trying to play, things are done in milliseconds, and they got guys that are not that quick yet. You know what I'm saying?
I got you, Tiger.
Thank you very much, GLers.
Yeah.
Please do us a favor if you haven't done so already. You should join the thousands, yes, thousands of subscribers on the Garage Logic YouTube channel, because on that YouTube channel you can watch the show each and every single day starting right around noon. You can also see full segments, video shorts, behind the scenes footage. It's all there for you on the Garage Logic YouTube channel, and you can search for us on all of our social media channels. Just search Garage Logic on Facebook, Instagram, and also on X. I like to call it Twitter like Johnny Height does as well. And sign up for the Daily Logician. That email comes right to your inbox each and every single day. It includes the most recent episode of the podcast, and you can find out more by going to the website and signing up right now at garagelogic.com.
It's about to go down.
What is?
I don't know.
It?
Cha.